Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Girl, Is That Legal? This week, we're just going to do an episode of On the Record where we run background checks on the person of your choice. I do one giveaway each week to one of the viewers that's following me both on my Girl Is That Legal channel on YouTube, on Ages and Stages on YouTube, as well as Attorney Symone Redwine on Instagram. If you're following those, you have the opportunity to win a background check on the person of your choice. I do one giveaway each week. You just have to be willing to come on the show to receive your results. Now, you can be anonymous, or if you like to be completely private, you are welcome. You can contact my office at 855-4-SYMONE, and I can do an investigation for you. Now, this week, I'm really excited about the episode. Now, if you were rocking with me in the beginning when I first started doing these checks, you might recognize this situation. But the great news is we also have an update. So this is going to be a short episode, maybe about 10 minutes or so. And you guys are welcome to join if you have any questions afterwards. You're welcome to join. You don't have to turn your camera on, but you do have to let me know you're like a real person in the background first. So I'm going to start the countdown and I'm going to drop the link in the bio if you want to come on afterwards and ask any questions. If you want to have questions about how to run a background check or how do I do any of this or how have I found any information, I'd love for you to join. Oh, and most importantly, if you'd like to enter to win a free background check, I'm going to drop the form below in the chat. All right. All right, guys, thanks for joining. Let's see, put in the chat what city and state that you're watching from. I am about to upload this video. Here we go. Please drop that in the chat. Here we go. There we go.
And now it's time for On the Record on YouTube's Girl, Is That Legal? YouTube show with attorney Symone Redwine.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to come on in because, if you miss the initial question, the premises, it's a little difficult to figure out what's going on. And again, this is a replay from an episode that I believe it was in February. It was in early February. This is before I even called it On the Record, before I even added this as a component because I was just adding viewer questions at the end. So we'll let you all join. And I'm going to read off the question for you, and then we're going to cut to the conversation that we had. I'm probably going to interject, share some documents with you to show you how exactly I found out this information, and then we'll play the update for you. So here we go. All right. So
he is a realtor, and he also owns.
So this week's question, let me roll it back. So this week, it was, I call this one, oh hell nah. Deadbeat dad, who is a real estate mogul, tries to hide his assets from child support court. So the viewer writes, my daughter's father is an extremely successful real estate investor and realtor. For years, he would play games with me and his support obligations, paying when he felt like it or when he felt like there was a chance that I might come back to him. And I'm sick of it. I am so over it. So over a year ago, I filed for child support. He's failed to show up to court multiple times, and most recently, the court set his child support at the absolute state. Oh, it says max. It's supposed to be minimum. They set it at the absolute state minimum because they said I had no proof of his income, even though he was supposed to turn in documents to the court and never has. He said he'll never, that we'll never find his money or his assets because he's hidden them in trust and in his business names. I tried to find them, but have been unsuccessful. The judge said he'd be willing to amend the child support, that's the minimum, if I could show proof of his income. I don't have a lawyer and I'm doing this all on my own. How can I find out how much money he really makes? Here's the facts about him. He's in California. He's a realtor in California, and he also is a property investor, so buys, flips property. He owns multiple properties, over 20 of them. Yet again, remember, he is getting the state absolute minimum is what he's paying. She said he's always on some shady stuff, and he's approximately 40. He's 45. All right. Here we go. Let me see these comments. Oh, we got a lot of comments coming in. Let me make sure I address the comments. Hey guys. Oh, we got Dallas, Shreveport, Macon. All right. So you guys saw the question. So basically, this is a single mom. Her child is getting older. Her child is high school age, and she put the dad on child support because he's inconsistent. He basically tries to use child support and the money as a carrot to dangle to get her back, or if he's upset with her, he just won't contribute. So who is this we're learning about today? So this person is also anonymous. So this is an anonymous single mom of a teenager who's trying to figure out how to find the assets or the amount of income for her baby daddy so that she can get the court to increase it from the absolute state minimum. Somebody says if he has a good accountant, good luck. All right, so here we go.
He is a realtor, and he also owns about 20 to 30 rental properties
Got you.
that I understand are in a trust or his LLC, not in his name. That's why.
That's to hide him from people like you. Does he have others?
Yes.
Is your kid the only one under 18?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Tasha, what you got? What question you got for him?
Oh, so I wanted to know if his tax returns have been requested by the court.
Now, mind you, the panel that I had on that episode were other attorneys that were in various different practice areas. Now, a lot of times men think they're slick. They think, I'm going to put all of my assets into trust. That way it can't be used for child support. Wrong, just loud and wrong. Absolutely not. Child support is one of the areas where a trust can be touched to satisfy those obligations. Otherwise, everyone would do that. And in fact, many people don't know that if you have a child support lien and your home goes into foreclosure, the foreclosure sale must satisfy that child support lien or it sticks, meaning whoever buys the house has to not just pay off that mortgage to the bank, but they also have to pay your child support lien. So you cannot get away with just attaching it to property or putting it in a trust or even putting your money in the name of your LLC. And you'll see why.
Yes, that's what our full court hearing was a couple of weeks ago, was for him to present his LLC taxes because he didn't turn in any paperwork at the original hearing. And he just failed to show up and didn't submit anything either. And they basically said they have no numbers to go off of, so they can't pull something out of the air. If I can present them with something, then they can work with that.
Now, mind you, he only brought his personal income taxes, not his LLC. That's how I know the LLC is where the money resides, right? And that's where we focus our search on finding LLC documents. And baby, let me tell you, it's so easy to find LLC documents. Why? Because LLCs are public in most states. Now, Delaware has some anonymous ones where you can't associate the person with the LLC. But all I had to do is go to his state, do a simple little search of his name, and it pulled up all the companies that he owns. He ain't slick.
So Anonymous gave me his information, and I'm gonna tell you what I found. Anonymous, feel free to ask him questions.
Cool.
Yes. Okay. Now, number one, Anonymous doesn't have an attorney. You guys were before a judge, right?
It was actually a commissioner.
Oh,
it
hell
wasn't
no.
an official judge. It was a commissioner.
That order in the court. Okay, that was the first part. Here's the thing, because I've never heard
And the
of a
commissioner
court.
knew better.
Right. Or they're
Right.
probably not attorneys. So a lot of times they'll have you go in front of like a mediator. And a mediator sometimes is an attorney, sometimes they're not. So that's commissioner person may not have even gone to law school, or they may just simply be an attorney of some sort, not even necessarily specializing in this. So the bottom line is what they say, they are just like the first place that they send you when you don't have a lawyer, and this is how you get treated when you don't have one. Now, the first thing is I'm going to assume you didn't hire an attorney because you weren't sure if you wanted to spend the money.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
I wasn't sure it was going to even out. Is it going to be worth me
Right.
spending this money, and it can I really collect?
Gotcha. So a lot of people don't know that many family law attorneys accept they have like relationships with finance companies. Listen, in the same way that people go to rent a center and they pay $10 a week for a goddamn coffee table, you can pay that for your lawyer. So for my clients,
Really?
I use a company called ePay. And how that works is depending on what the retainer is and so forth, or what we think the case is going to cost. I send you a link, you apply for financing, and then I get paid up front, or actually you get the money, you can give me the retainer and etc. And you can make monthly payments of, I'm talking 125 a month. But
Oh, okay.
you may have access to $20,000 if that ends up being what it costs. So I just say that to say you can be creative and find attorneys who have partnerships with these payment companies that way, because you end up losing out now or losing out forever. So it's just better to go ahead and pay for that counsel that's going to get it right,
It's kind
because
of like care credit.
like care credit, exactly, but instead of for your titties, it's for child support.
Y'all, listen, you don't want to try and be involved in a child support, family law, divorce, any of that without an attorney. If the other side has an attorney, especially, don't even do it. It's better to just search for law firms that have financing plans, payment plans. Just like you pay your T-Mobile bill, go ahead and pay for that so that you can ultimately get peace of mind. Also, it's important to know in this instance, she talked about not going before a judge, but going before a commissioner. And the commissioner is the one that basically rewarded him for not turning in his income money by setting the child support at the bottom, at the very lowest level. You can always say, no, I don't want this non-judge person. I only want a judge to hear my case. But if you don't ask for it, they're going to give you someone else because judges have busy dockets. All right.
It's for your
Yes,
legal
it's for child
fees.
support. And that's because they treat you differently when you don't have an attorney. And this is a perfect
They do.
example, because there's no way he should get it set at the lowest for not turning in his information. One of the ladies in the
Right.
comments said he should be in contempt. He should be in contempt. And whoever said that was like absolutely right. But because she's not an attorney, she probably didn't even know, Anonymous didn't even know to make that motion. But here's the first thing that I said. You said he's a licensed realtor. Hold on. If you are trying to get your child support set or adjusted, if this is a person who works in a licensed profession in your state, damn near every state has a law that says if this person is behind on their child support, we can snatch that license up. California does. If they are 30
Florida
days or
does.
more behind,
Florida does as well.
yes, almost every state does. They do it for realtors. They do it for lawyers. They do it for a
Mhm.
goddamn plumber if they need a license. They will take your professional license and they will take your driver's license. So
Mhm.
if you're saying he has all these properties, if you're able to get his license suspended for this BS, he's going to come up with some money. He's going to show up to a hearing,
Sure
etc.
will.
So
Right.
that's number one. Number
Okay.
two, with realtors, is you can go to Zillow.com, put in their realtor name. It will show you all of their home sales for the last 3 years.
Oh, let me remove this. Sorry, guys. Get right back to it.
3%. Do that calculation. I did it for this fool and did
Let me roll that
for
back.
this BS. He's going to come up with some money. He's going to show up to a hearing,
Right,
etc. So
right.
that's number one. Number
Okay.
two, with realtors, is you can go to Zillow.com, put in their realtor name. It will show you all of their home sales for the last 3 years. The general commission is 3%. Do that calculation.
All right, y'all. So here is where I went. I went to Zillow and I found all of the homes that he sold over the last 3 years. He had only been a realtor for 3 years, but I believe it goes back even much further. So here we go. Find that document. Where's it? Oh, here we go. So I know it's small, guys, but the gist of it, I intentionally I narrowed the column so you can't see the complete addresses. But let me start at the bottom. I'm gonna take this banner away. Starting at the bottom, y'all, he really thinks he's slick. I think he had no idea his public information is out here. But in 2019 and 2018 alone, he sold $1.3 million worth of real estate. If his commission was only 3%, and it can always be higher, but 3% is basically the minimum commission, he would have earned $41,000. Now that was like his first year as a realtor. But then check this out. 2022, he sold 2.7 million. So that's at least 81,000. Now, when they set his child support at the state minimum, they're assuming he makes more like 30,000. So here we show that he's definitely got double that for 2020. Up to 21, he sold 1.5 million worth, which was at least a $46,000 commission. And then in 2022, 1.7, which was at least 53,000. Now, keep in mind, many of the properties that he's selling are his own. So he's getting both a commission and he's getting profits from the sales of his property. He also owns multiple properties that he's renting out. So his real estate commissions are just one narrow income stream that she can present to the court. All right, let's go back to
For this fool. In the last 3 years, he sold about $7 million worth of properties, but it's about a 3% commission. So 3% of the $7 million would have been about $225,000 worth of just commissions from real estate sales that he's made over like the last 3 years, I think it was. Now, here's the other thing, looking for his income. Honey, you said he owns different properties. So then the first place that I went is go to the county deed records. Okay, you want to go to their deed records and you put his name in. That will tell you any and all property deeds that are under his name. Now he sounds a little shisty, like a little scammer. So I figured they probably
Pretty
are
much
not all in his name, and I was right. I found his trust.
Who needs the FBI when you got Glock women?
And I know that it's his trust because one of the properties is co-owned by the trust and himself, and then it gave everything from himself to the trust, right? Mm-hmm. And they were both the grantors. He was the grantor and he gave it to the trust as the grantee. That's how I know that's how he put it into the trust. So we have now located the trust, and you can demand those records. Secondly, I found this little raggedy LLC. That LLC is trifling.
Ooh, what do you mean by trifling?
Didn't you tell me in our pre-thing that he tried to say in court, it's multiple members of the LLC? Didn't you say something like that?
Yes, he was not.
He is a goddamn lie. Here's how we know. I put first. I put in the LLC's name in the state, which is the state of California. You can see the records. It showed when he initially filed it, he was the only member, and each year since, it shows his renewal documents. He is the only one listed. Second, this mofo got a PPP loan. I found
Don't they all?
Sure did.
He got a PPP loan. So I put in the LLC because there's a search now. You put in the LLC and it'll tell you how much of a PPP loan. And it also said how many employees. It said.
Now, hold on, y'all. Let me show you this PPP loan. This fool really sat up here and thought we aren't able to do, like we would never find out. He really thought she was going to be exhausted, emotionally exhausted and everything else. And would never find out. Somebody said, why is he being so frugal with his child, paying the bare minimum? I think it's because for some men, it's all about control. And he wanted to be able to just give her what he felt she needed, give the mom what he felt that she needed each month, as opposed to being consistent. And so when she exercised her right to by filing for consistent child support. I think he felt she's trying to take away his control. So he's like, all right, I'm going to fix you. You should have not, because a lot of men feel like, I'll give you more if you don't file. But when you file, I'm not giving you a dime. Somebody said, I missed it. What is he currently providing in child support? Is it not significant enough? Correct. So he only has one child that's still under 18. He's a real estate mogul. He owns over 20 properties in California, plus he's a realtor. And he's not paying anything at, correction. Prior to their first hearing, he wasn't paying anything. She didn't want to take him back. They weren't going to be together. And he was being very inconsistent. And so therefore she filed. Once she filed, he wasn't going to pay anything until the court ordered it, but he failed to show up. And when he showed up, he showed up to I think the very first hearing, but he only brought his personal taxes. Well, we all know if you're self-employed, especially if you have a business like real estate, your individual income is going to be very low because your LLC is where all your profits are. That's what he did. So he intentionally did not bring any LLC documents, only brought his individual tax return and set it based on this. And as a result, they had a follow-up hearing. He didn't show up at all, and the court, in fact, set it at the minimum. So she's frustrated. The mom's frustrated because the judge had told her, if you can show us evidence that he makes more than the state minimum, which is around like 30, 40,000, then we can increase it. But without you showing this proof, we can't. And of course, her issue is, but you're rewarding him for not showing up and not providing the court the documents that the court itself ordered. So being in contempt. So let me show you this PPP loan, y'all. And if you're dating someone, they have a business, feel free. It is a lookup tool that you can use to see if someone has their PPP loan, if it's been forgiven, and how much they received. So you'll see here, with his business, he got it $20,832, okay? It has either been paid in full and forgiven. That's accurate. But look at the jobs retained, 1. That means he's stating he is the only employee of the LLC, despite in court lying to the judge and telling the judge he's not the only one with the LLC and that therefore the LLC splits profits with other partners. So this is how you can find it out. Also, I'm going to go into it, but this amount, this 20K, is the maximum that you can get for PPP, and it means that you earn a minimum. If you get 20, it means that you earn a minimum of $100,000 per year. Remember, he told the court, he had the court set it as though he made like 30 or 40,000, but this right here is a federal document signed under penalty of perjury, stating that he earned at least $100,000 and therefore needed the government to give him this money as replacement of his payroll. So anybody out there, if you're a guy and you don't want your child support increase, I hope you didn't get no PPP loan. And I sure hope you didn't get the max. So here we go. We're going to go back to it.
One, which is
Him.
Let me roll that back.
He got a PPP loan. So I put in the LLC, because there's a search now. You put in the LLC and it'll tell you how much of a PPP loan. And it also said how many employees. It said 1, which is him.
Ooh.
So I did a lot of PPP loans for self-employed people. Some of my main clients were realtors, right? Because of the fact that realtors are independent contractors, they qualified. So it was not scammy for him to apply. But what it does mean is this. The PPP loan maximum is 2.5 times your, he got the max.
Ooh.
He got 20, it says $20,832. That means he stated on that form under penalty of perjury that he earned for 2021 over $130,000.
Correction. I said 130. I meant 100,000 because the 100 is the cap, but you get it. And I explained it to her after the fact.
Out and bring it into court, and you have proof for that year. And he got 20,832, and they forgave 100% of it.
Wow.
So he's
It was a Wells Fargo loan. That means it was deposited into a Wells Fargo account, which means if you need to garnish, you're going to start at Wells
with
Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Yep.
Ooh.
Oh, let me say this about garnishing, because baby, I will garnish somebody's wages. Somebody owed me $500, garnished. I got my judgment in the small claims court, just garnished. So if you know where someone banks, you don't need to know the local branch. You don't need to know any of that. Banks are federal. So as long as you know what bank it is, you can then go to a court after you win either child support or whatever. And then you can ask the court to garnish that bank account and what's in it to satisfy what they owe you. So don't ever think like, oh, I'll win this verdict, but I'll never get paid. All you got to do is use the appropriate investigator. They have investigators that literally just look for people's assets. They can do Social Security searches, blah, 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 and find people's bank accounts. Here we go.
So two things. Aside from working with the PI, if you can afford it, get yourself a forensic accountant. They will track down every dollar that ever come through that man's pocket.
Okay.
They will find every stitch of money that he's ever given to anybody to hide, any stitch of money he's ever earned. They will literally piece the puzzle together for you. If you can afford it, if it's in the budget, get yourself a forensic accountant. They're that girls, and a lot of people don't know, but they are that girl. Because just because this money's in trust don't mean you can't get it. The state of California, most states, but definitely the state of California, because I just looked it up to be sure, they will attach a support order to a trust. So if you want to pay that, oh, I don't got it, look at my bank account. Fine, if your trust got it, we'll take it from there. Whoever got it, we want it, we shall have it.
Yeah.
And y'all, let me tell you, actually, if someone has a trust set up, it's actually amazing for attaching things like child support liens, right? Because the money is all in one place, and trust largely can become public. And you'll see, because I located his in this episode, I was able to find his. But so, yeah, if someone has all their stuff in a trust, that's what you want. Because once it's in a trust, the judge is able to attach and take money out of it. They can force a sale in certain situations. So he did himself a disservice, actually. Putting it all in trust means it's easier to get to for this child support purpose. Now, mind you, this child the mom works, the mom has a job, the mom's been taking care of the child. They're in two different states, but now the child is an honor student and wants to prepare for college. And that was part of the motivation of why the mom said, you know what, I'm going to have to formalize this because I know he's not going to help with college. So let me get what I can now so that I can save even more to help my child through college.
Thank you. Now, you said a forensic accountant. Is that a normal CPA, any CPA firm, or they're specific forensic?
No.
They're specifically for court. So they literally do the investigations, and it'll come with the certifications that you need attached to the document. So you can hand it to the judge, and the other side won't be able to say, Your Honor, I object, that's hearsay. Because they will have exactly what they need for it to be admitted in court.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Well, Anonymous, we really appreciate you coming on. We hope this is helpful. And after your next hearing, come, definitely send me an update. We want to know how it goes.
Okay, now hold on. Before we go into the update, I want to show you guys. Now, I dropped the link. If anybody wants to come on and ask a question, you do not have to turn your camera on, so you can be audio only. And then if we don't have any questions, we'll just wrap up early today. But someone said, if a person received a PPP loan and it's ongoing, what does that mean? It means they have not had it forgiven. It probably means that the loan has not yet been forgiven, because most of the loans at this point have already been forgiven or the repayment process has started. So if it's ongoing, it may be that it was not forgiven and therefore they have to start repaying it, or It could be that the feds found out they lied about how many employees or whatever. So they are having to make restitution and repay it. So let me show you. Let me start with, y'all, let me show you this third. Let me tell you. I mean, he really sat up there. Like, I love a good challenge. So he sat up there and told his child's mother, "You'll never find my assets. I've hidden them so well." You picked the wrong one. So it's kind of light colored here, but you'll see. What I put in, I didn't even put in his name, y'all. I put it in his LLC first. And I still came up with 63 documents. These are documents. So it was 63 that came out. This is just page one. It's like in sets of 10 or so. But these are different lien letters, but also property documents. So these pertain to his buying property, selling property, and a variety of other things. It was also how I was able to locate his trust. Let me show you. Let me show you. He think he's slick. You're not slick, you little raggedy. Let's see, is it this one? Okay. Okay, let's see. It is, and all the Zillow cells, and one of these is the properties. What's that? Let's try this one. Let's see, how many pages is this? Yep, this one's it. All right. All right, so what I did here is I went to the deed records for his county, right? That is how, for example, I found this particular property. I found all his properties, but this one was interesting because this one was just last year. And what's helpful with this one is you know that he has a mortgage on it. Well, if you are dealing with somebody who's trying to hide their assets, right, so they don't have to pay child support, that one of the number one things that you want to request, subpoena, demand, etc., if have your lawyer do it on your behalf, or if you don't have a lawyer, you issue a subpoena, is for his mortgage application. Because your mortgage application is a federal document that you sign under penalty of perjury. And on that document, you have to state your income, right? You have to state your income in order to qualify for any property. So as a result, if she gets those documents, she will be able to see, what did he tell the bank was his earnings in order to get his 21st rental property, his 22nd rental property. Because we all know, in order for a bank to loan you money to have your 20th property or whatever it's going to be, you got to show a lot of revenue that you're generating from rents and other things, right? Again, feel free, drop your questions in. If you've got a question, I'm going to try to add it or answer it as I go. So I just wanted to show you, okay, he's got a loan here. That's good to know. So when I talked with her at the end of the, well, it was a longer segment, but I said, you definitely want to request his mortgage documents. And you can get that very easily from the title company, and also from the mortgage company. And then secondly, grant deeds. Grant deeds are important because that means that a property was bought or sold. And he could either be the grantee, as in the person that's selling it, or he can be the person buying it. Here, he is the person buying it. So once again, this is an additional property he bought in the same year. He hasn't sold any properties. And when you got this property was worth, I want to say over $350,000. So was the other property he bought that year. You got to show a lot of revenue to qualify for that mortgage. Okay, then this one. This document shows a mortgage release. What that means is his mortgage was paid off, and therefore that's revenue that could be available to pay reasonable child support. He is paying the same child support as somebody working at McDonald's. That's not right. I'm not saying dads should be bankrupted for child support, but there's a big difference between you owning 20 real estate properties and having money in trust and paying the same amount of child support as a McDonald's worker. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then here's the trust. I found his trust because what happens is he purchased the house as himself, and then he transferred it into the trust. That's what most people do. They don't purchase it as a trust because your trust is not an actual entity. Most people don't. As a result, there was this documentation. Now we know what the trust is. So now she can demand that he provide to the court the value of the trust, who is the trustee, who is in charge of it, the expenses, all that information. Here we go. Oh, this one was real shady. Y'all, look at this. He got some audacity. He got some real nerve. This is a property that he owns. And what you see here is he chose to assign the rent, as in the income that he generates from that property, to a different company. And I believe it was because, again, he is trying to hide the assets and make it such that she is not able to have access to any of his funds. But if you have rents are income, then all of that is what's supposed to be calculated for your child support. She's not out here trying to get rich quick. She's trying to pay for college for her straight A student, because once that child turns 18, he's no longer on the hook in most states. California actually is a little bit different. If your child's in college, the dad could be on the hook. But here, he seriously assigned the rents to a corporation. Now, sometimes people do that as collateral if they want to get a loan for another investment property, or sometimes they do it for retirement planning. I looked up this company and it appears it was retirement planning, where you can literally take those rents, put them into a retirement account that you can't touch, and therefore you don't have to pay taxes on it. So he's avoiding taxes and he's avoiding child support. Oh, a special place in hell for people that do that stuff. Okay, and then this is another assignment. He assigns his lease, his rent, his all of that to some other company. And I believe, let's see, all of that. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, these documents here show that he had child support liens for other moms, for other children, but he paid them off in 2021. Y'all, here's why. When you have a child support lien and you go to close on a house, they pay your lien off. They, as in the title company. The title company must pay your lien off. Otherwise, the lien stays attached to the property. And the new property owner would have that lien attached and therefore would make a claim against the title company. So basically, it's really important. Even if you are dating the sorriest person, they've never paid a dime. Don't give up. You hear me? Do not give up. This is for men. This is for women. Don't give up. You want to get that lien on file, because if they ever try to buy a house or sell a house or anything further, your lien can be attached to that property, and then they have to pay you before they can sell it or even refinance it. They can't even do a cash out refinance without taking care of their obligation to you or your child. And yeah, he got tax lien. He don't like paying none of his debts. All right, so that was this part. And then there was one other, I think I got. Oh, this one was a reconveyance. He really thought he was slick. So here, with the reconveyance, basically, he took the property, gave it to his LLC, and then gave it back to himself a little while later. That's probably for tax fraud. And while he's doing all this stuff, IRS gonna get in that behind, because they know that this goes on. So that's basically the summation of what I was able to uncover for her. Now, if you would like a search done on anyone, whether it's, I've had people call me and I've done them on their fiancés, if it's a long distance romance, if it's if you have a child that's dating somebody and maybe they're thinking about proposing and you're like, I don't know about her, you can contact my office again at 855 for Symone, or you can fill out the form. I'm going to drop it in the description and we can help you. You don't have to come on the show if you want to be anonymous. You can hire me as your attorney and I will anonymously handle it for you under attorney-client privilege. So here's the conclusion, guys. So after the show initially aired, she sent me a text message a few weeks later. And what happened was she took all of these documents, of course, unredacted. And there's even more documents that I provided to her. And that's what I do if I do a search for you. You get the unredacted versions. She took all of those. She simply emailed them to the court. And here's what happened. Okay, so in her update, it says, "Hey Symone, I wanted to share some good news and give you an update. Um, this wasn't today. Oh, that was a few weeks ago. Sorry, I screenshotted the day of. I have some good news and want to give you an update based on all the research and information you provided to me after our conversation. I was awarded double for child support. Bum, bum, bum. I need some music sound. Bum, bum, bum. And she says, we have another hearing coming up to get it increased again. Again. This is just the minimum increase because the judge saw the fraud. I cannot thank you enough for helping me. I had absolutely no clue where to start before calling in to the podcast. So the great news is literally she was able to simply email that into the judge. I offer consultations. Absolutely. I sure do. If you go to my Instagram page, click the link in my bio. And in that it says meet with Symone or something like that. There's one for background checks. Go ahead and click that one. I absolutely do consultations. And my Instagram is attorney Symone Redwine. So, and the great news, guys, is this was the increase that she got just by emailing the documents. So she called me before she sent me the text. She called me, but I couldn't take the call. And she called me and she said, my baby daddy just called me. He just called me. He hasn't reached out to me during this whole process. Not when I initially filed, not at all. But he just called me. I said, girl, he probably got something in the mail that says they're trying to increase his money. She said, you think so? You think so? I said, uh-huh. She then went and checked her mail and saw that the judge on his own without a hearing doubled her child support. She still has an upcoming hearing where she can request even more. So now he himself is trying to negotiate. The dad is trying to negotiate with her for a different amount. And she's actually really reasonable with what she wants. The problem is, a lot of times you can say, okay, well, I want you to start a college fund. I want you to do these things. He's not being consistent. But she does have the upcoming hearing. And for that, I recommended to her, I said, you got to subpoena the mortgage application documents that he supplied over the last 3 years for each of these houses that he's purchasing. Because if you lie on that, that's a federal crime. So he's either lying to the court here or he was lying to the court there. Either way, if he's smart, he's just going to do right by her and that child, support the child in a reasonable method for a teenager, and then they don't have to involve the Fed. They don't have to involve the rest of that. And when I say the feds, what I simply mean is when it becomes clear from the court that you put something completely different on your mortgage documents that you're telling to them, they have the ability and they have the access, and the IRS loves investigating those things. So it wouldn't be the mom calling the police or any of that, but the courts certainly have a way to communicate. She said, I wouldn't talk to him now either. I wouldn't either, because at this point, all he's going to do is shirk on his responsibility. I would get the order in place. I would get all of that in place, get that ironclad. The child is going to graduate soon. And luckily, with the child's father being California based, if this is based on California law, he should be required to contribute to her college too. Thank God, because truly, he's only recently been supporting and been supporting consistently. Somebody said, I would let that call go to voicemail. I wouldn't talk to him anymore. I wouldn't either. She had to go through all this, but oh well. Now she knows. And now her and the child are doing so much better because we all know how expensive high school is, right? Graduation, college applications, all of that. And because he just wants to be spiteful, he's not doing that. Oh, and I'll be looking at people's social media, especially when you don't want to take care of your kids. Why was he on this international travel trip? I was looking real hard. I said, let him put a woman in some of these pictures, because I'm gonna be real tempted to tap her, go on her little social media and be like, excuse me, ma'am, I don't know if you know, but this man is raggedy. He don't like take care of his child. But I didn't. His raggedy tail. All right. So it looks like, let's see. It doesn't look like anyone has any additional questions. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up, unless, let me see if I missed anything, guys. And we'll be back next week. Seriously, tell your friends, tell a friend, tell a friend. All they have to do is complete the form. They can win a free background check. They can be anonymous. They just have to be willing to come on to receive their results. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.